Yeah, how about that new Rangers rotation? We're going to talk lots about that today on the DLLS Rangers podcast. It's exactly 2 months away. 2 months from today, the Rangers open the season against the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia. And coincidentally, the weather forecast for that day is exactly what we have here today. So maybe the Rangers can go on outside if they're in the area in North Texas and practice in this ice and snow, because that's what Philadelphia is. No, we hope Philly's not like this, and we hope you're enduring and surviving the storm. And we're glad to see you all in the chat, and we might as well warm ourselves up with a little bit of hot stove baseball talk as John Radigan here and Jeff Wilson there are streamed together by the greatness of Cat, the Queen, and we're here to talk sports, baseball with you. And Jeff, man, it's been exciting to let this all kind of sink in about the Rangers. You know what they did right at the end of last week in trading for McKenzie Gore, and then you start to ponder just how stout this rotation is going to be.
Definitely has the potential to be very, very good. I think the interesting thing is what's been missing for Gore,
Right.
and I got to tell you, I kind of buy into your theory that he's been trapped on a team with no hope. Now you probably still need to go out and perform, but maybe he gets a boost from that. Maybe there is something mechanically the Rangers want to see him do, or pitch selection wise, and then maybe having a good defense is something too. I mean, you and I have seen it. What one of those iffy plays that should have been made situation that goes down as a hit that should have been an error, and next thing you know, the floodgates open. So I don't know. I think he has he has the talent. Third overall pick in 2017. A guy the Nationals wanted as part of their rebuild, and then ongoing rebuild. They ran out of time because basically, this guy's in his second year of arbitration, and he's gonna be a free agent before they're ready to go. So they had to get something for him. So I'm interested in that. Obviously interested in DeGrom's health. I still think we have to wonder about it. He's had the health issues from 21 to 25, really, missed all of 23 and a lot of 24. And can you put together back-to-back 30-start seasons? And then, is Jack Leiter going to improve?
Right.
I don't want to call this his sophomore year, but it's his second full season. What's that going to look like? You think the arrow, if you judge him by his second half, the arrow is definitely pointing up. And he's also a guy that has always wanted to be better and does things in the off season to get better. So those are the questions I have. The fifth starter, it's going to be probably a constantly in flux, I would think. But this is, and Chris Young said it, the Rangers had the best ERA in baseball last year, and people were wondering, would they be able to repeat it? They may not be able to, but McKenzie Gore is going to help them get closer to it.
So, and speaking of that fifth starter, and we'll dabble more with Gore in a minute. Of course, right now it appears that Jacob Latz would be the odds-on favorite to be that person, to be the fifth starter. I know you and John Moore had him on the weekly show this past weekend, and what are his thoughts about where he stands and his approach? With basically 2 weeks before the pitchers and catchers arrive at spring training.
Yeah, he's going to go out to Arizona at the end of this week. He said he's thrown 9 bullpen sessions already. He feels like he's in a better spot than he was last year. Last year he had a lingering injury throughout the offseason, and then I think it was his back acted up on him in spring training, and he was an afterthought really because he wasn't on the mound. And then he came back late in camp, and everybody's like, "Hey, Jake Latz has a chance to make this roster." Ultimately, he didn't, but it wasn't long before he was called up. I think that he understands, um, it could go either way, and he said he's fine with it if it goes either way. There are things he likes about relieving. Some, the adrenaline rush. He said he really likes that. Uh, he wants to be a starter, and that's understandable. It's what he's done his whole career until a few years ago, and I think he's shown he can do it. Um, but he's a good soldier. He's going to do whatever it takes, whatever they end up deciding. But he's going to be stretched out and competing to be a starting pitcher.
And yeah, and that's a great attitude to know that he has. We know that Cody Bradford has had it too. We know all of them want to be starting pitchers because, again, like you say, you're not groomed as a child to be a reliever or whatever,
Right.
right? You're going to be a starter. And of course, in this game today, at least at this point, starting pitchers still have an opportunity to make a lot more money than relief pitchers do. So, of course, you'd like to do that for the benefit of your family. And the thing we've noticed and loved about Cody is that he's the same way attitudinally, right? He doesn't mind if he's a starter. He doesn't mind if he's a reliever. I think that the distinction becomes for those guys, look, I'd rather be a reliever in the big leagues than a starting pitcher in the minor leagues, if that's my choice.
100%. And I'm sure Kumar Rocker would feel that way. I think, and as we've discussed, I think it's rotation or bust for Kumar.
Yes.
I cannot see them putting him in the rotation or in their bullpen. Sorry. You still have to piece together rotational depth, and you want it to be good depth. You want to have a guy who's like, hey, shoot, so and so's on the IL for the next 15 days. He's gonna miss 3 starts. Who's the first man up? And you're gonna want it to be somebody who's pitched in the major, somebody who has terrific stuff, as everybody believes Kumar Rocker does. It's just developmental time and put in the right pieces together. So, I would think that they would put him at the top of the list for rotation depth, along with Corniel and Winston Santos, and then they signed Austin Gomber to a minor league deal. This guy's been a starter. He was a very big uh, Cardinals prospect in 2018, and 17 and 18 was injured in 19. I could be wrong, but I think he was part of the Arenado trade.
He was.
I think that's how
Yep.
the Rockies got
He
him. And
was. Yep.
so, this is a guy who then went to Colorado and um, got Colorado'd.
Yeah.
Not an easy place to pitch, and so
Not at all.
I wonder if a change of scenery does him some good. I mean, his road opponent's batting average is 30 points better than his home average, and most of his home games have been at Coors Field. I think this is a guy who you're hoping can find something, and he has worked as a reliever. Maybe he's yet another swing guy. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but you're potentially going to have a 32-year-old with a lot of big league experience who could come up and make a start for you, or could even make the rotation out of spring training. To be honest. So, a lot of there are a lot of different ways this could go. I think the hope for us, just because we like the kid, is that it's Jake Latz. But they'll take whoever they think is best, and whoever makes the team best. And there is a case that Jake Latz in the bullpen is better for the team.
And the Gomber move is the classic example of Chris Young's mantra, right? Never have enough pitching.
Right.
They went out, they got another pitcher, signed him to a minor league deal with this, an invite to Major League spring training, and that's fine. That's good. They've got another guy who, like you say, could probably do one or the other and has done both.
Yeah. But at some point, it's like, how many of those guys do you need? Because when May comes around, and Cody Bradford is ready to pitch in the majors, let's say it is Jake Latz in the rotation, and he's 4-0 with a 2.25 ERA. Are you going to take him out of the bullpen? Probably not. So he would slide into a role where he's working multiple innings, and so is Tyler Alexander. And if this Gomber guy is really, really good, or if you're fearful of losing him to another team and you put him on your roster, well, that gives you three left-handers who are multi-inning guys, and you got to keep in mind, if the Rangers plan to keep Carter Baumler, the Rule 5 guy,
Right.
on the draft, you're talking about, that's 4 spots, and that really hurts your flexibility, I think, unless you work out a system where, all right, we've got a lefty every day, a lefty's pitching 2 innings, something like that, and that's really hard to plan on. But just like you said, and as Chris Young says, you never have enough pitching, never have enough starting pitching, and how many starters the Rangers used last year? I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I think it was a pretty big number.
Sure.
And you probably at minimum need 8 guys for a season, but you may end up needing 10 or 12. So it's not a bad thing that they've done this with Gomber. The club hasn't released it, but it's been reported. And that it's just another layer. It's kind of like Adrian Hauser last year. I thought Hauser should have made the opening day roster, and he takes the assignment to AAA, ends up getting picked up by the White Sox, and then he's trade bait at the deadline. I mean, this guy made a pretty good season for himself, and then he's already signed a deal this offseason. So you hope that if Gomber doesn't make the team, that he hangs around and that the Rangers can utilize him.
Yeah, and as we've said before, Jeff, if you lose your Rule 5 guy, and again, as they continue to add pieces, you're now looking at a guy who's trying to crack into this, rotation, into this pitching staff in some way, who's never done it, I don't even think, at the AAA level, right? So it's a tall order. But, if you lose that guy, it's not that penal, right? It doesn't hurt the organization or the team that terribly. You've got to pay some money for him to go, or if he clears waivers to go back to his original team.
Yeah, and it would be nice to have him on the team, and in the organization, but it's hard for a contender to stash a guy like this away. I mean, you get to the point late in the season where every bullpen spot, you get the one extra spot. Okay, great, but it's like, man, our starters gotten us through 5, and we don't know about him facing this lineup a third time. Boy, let's go to the bullpen here in the 6th. Well, you can't do that every night. It's hard to do with 8 relievers, or if theoretically throughout the season until September you're working with 7, it's even harder. So I don't know. I haven't seen him pitch ever. This guy, and maybe it's awesome. Maybe it's like the best stuff you've ever seen, and maybe who knows? Maybe he's the closer by the end of the year. I seriously doubt that. But if I had to bet, I just don't see him making it through.
Yeah, it seems hard to imagine, again, given what they've added. That Rule 5 draft comes at the winter meetings. You haven't yet added all these guys. Certainly they're on your radar. You think it might be possible, but you haven't done that yet. So again, powder dry and all that stuff, right? You set yourself up for, here's a guy out here who could provide this for us. And, they took him, and it's always a chance, and they'll see how they do with it. Lots more coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast today. We're glad to have you along, talking a little baseball with us on a cold day in North Texas. We're warming you up with hot stove talk, and we come back and we get to lots more about what the Rangers are doing now, and some talk about Brendan Nimmo too. It's all coming. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. I can think of no better way to spend a cold weekend in Texas than with Wild Fork Foods. Not necessarily at Wild Fork, although if they're open, I guess you could. But I'm talking about all the great things that Wild Fork Foods could provide to make your weekend shut in at home so much better. Like all of, or any of the 750 meat options they have, the seafood options they have, the sides that they have just anything you could possibly want, including one of our favorites is that bison sausage that's got the cheddar and jalapeno. That is so good. That will warm your heart. But it's one of millions of options that you have at Wild Fork Foods. So do yourself a favor, whether it's cold and wintry or not, go to Wild Fork Foods, one of the 9 DFW locations, or find them online at wildforkfoods.com. Wild Fork Foods. Also, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. We are huge fans of Prize Picks because it's one of the few ways you can just sit there and watch sports and make money. How great is that? And what else was there to do this weekend? I was all over every sport that was available. In fact, I was all ready to pick some teams that would be a part, or players that would be a part of my team for that game between the Mavs and the Bucks last night. How'd that work out for me? Mavs got stranded here. That game's been postponed, but you can pick a team of players, anywhere from 2 to 6 of them. All they have to do is achieve certain statistical categories. And if they do that, if they beat your projection for them, well, then you win. How about that? Download the app today and use the code DLLS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks. That Denver game yesterday, Jeff, speaking of possible games you might have been interested in for your prize pick team or otherwise, man, I've never seen snow hit a stadium quite that hard, even in Buffalo, like it's either there from the beginning until the end or not. It looked like summer at the beginning of the game. I know it was cold, but it looked fine, and then it was a blizzard.
Yeah, my thought was, the complaint this whole ski season has been, oh boy, they're just not getting any snow in Colorado. So
Gotcha.
Of all days for it to snow,
Yeah.
this is the one. And the first drive of the second half, a great drive, but ended up with 3 points.
Sure.
Feeling pretty good about it. The weather's looking good. It hadn't started snowing yet, and then I don't know what I did. I don't know, went to the bathroom or help my daughter with something, and next thing I know, they're like, "Oh, Jim, it's snowing real hard." And then Nancy's like, "Oh, it's starting to stick, Tony." And then it's like blizzard conditions, and the game was over at that point. I know the Broncos had a field goal try, but
yeah,
the way the wind was blowing, and then that fella got his hand up there and swatted aside anyway. And don't think that the weather didn't affect that. I mean, this Lutz, he's a really good kicker, right? And you don't kick a 44-yard field goal these days low enough for somebody to kick it. So there had to be a little slip, or he was trying to be careful or something. It was disappointing, of course, that the Broncos lost. And sure, I would have liked to have seen Bo Nix play, and I would have liked to have seen them kick a field goal there to go up 10-0.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I've been to a couple snow games at the old Mile High, but it was snowing beforehand. You knew what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
This was something like and it changed so quickly. You're right.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, in the middle way of the third quarter, there was no snow on the ground, and by the end of the game, you couldn't see anything.
By the end of the third quarter, there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, really crazy. We want to talk a little bit about Brandon Nimmo in this segment because, I wrote for Arlington Today this weekend, as I sometimes do, and that's not a tremendously sports savvy audience necessarily. So, I try to just kind of simplify things a little bit and try to explain the whole addition to the offense, Jeff, by subtraction. And we say that a lot, and it's true, right? You subtract, as I said in the piece, right? You subtract the guys who haven't been productive, and then you just hope that the other players, they haven't produced, so you have to subtract from them, them from the offense so that it can be more productive. The thing is, that line of questioning or line of thought, it really minimizes what Brandon Nimmo can be to this offense. He's addition, Jeff, by addition.
Yeah, yeah, he is. And you kind of go through and look at the Rangers numbers from last season, and then you look at Nimmo. All right, Nimmo would have been tied for he would have been the team leader in home runs, right? He had 25 home runs. That was 3 better than Wyatt Langford, who had the team lead. He would have led in RBIs, and I don't care what people say about RBIs; they matter, And then you look around batting average; it would have been top 3 or something like that, top 5. So I mean, this guy is coming in, and he's going to be one of their best offensive players.
Yeah.
Now,
and I like
and,
that.
and there's
I like
more in
that
the
walks.
tank.
Yeah, I like that walks category there too, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's one thing to be a productive hitter, but he is, he works, he works a count. He'll do the things you need to do to get on base. There's more ways than to just get a hit.
absolutely. And just in our short time we've had to speak with him, this team offense, game situations, things like that. Seems like he buys into that.
Yeah.
So how many how many outs last year? How many productive outs did he have last year? I don't know if there's a somebody who keeps track of that stuff or something. If that's a Fangraphs thing or if anybody does it, but you're sacrificing yourself for the good of the team. Things that hitters just didn't do last year. So there's just it's he's good against lefties, even though he's a left-handed hitter.
Yes.
He's gonna play every day, right? He's even gonna steal some bases, not a bunch, but he's gonna steal some bases. So there's just you're talking about a guy who's a much more complete offensive player than a lot of the guys the Rangers had last year, and a lot of the guys who are coming back this year. So you got to look forward to this, and you don't worry about what's being said in New York about why they got rid of him or anything like that.
Right.
They targeted him. They saw something they liked, and they liked the at bats. They liked the guy, and so I think that wherever you plug him into the offense, and he could bat leadoff. He's definitely going to bat toward the top in an impactful spot. He's just, he's not just somebody that you're like, oh, this guy. No, he's like, hey, you should be excited about it.
Yeah, and so here's the deal too. If you look at those numbers, and obviously you'd love to see him duplicate them. Let's just say he gets 25 home runs again this year, 92 RBIs, a 262 average again this year. You'd love all that. And you'd like and expect in the home run category, really, maybe even the RBI category, Jeff, that shouldn't be first on this team, right? That should be third, maybe fourth on this team. I mean, Corey Seager should have more home runs than that. Jake Berger should have more home runs than that. Heck, Jock Peterson, maybe, right? Or right there with him, right? So, you want him to be that. And if those other guys can be what they should be, man, how about that guy as your fourth best hitter instead of your best hitter?
Right. And again, you've gotten rid of some guys who have just been dreadful. So, so there's, like you're saying, there's the addition by subtraction, and then there's this addition, this guy who's an all-star player, who's had a 30 homer season, who's had a 400 on base percentage season, multiple.
Yeah,
I might add. If he can, his on base percentage was low last year for him, 324. So he bumps it up 40 points. That's probably what, 15, 20 more walks or different ways of getting on base.
Yep.
And man, you're looking at a really, really, really good player. And you still are, but it's even better at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's as we've often said, and that's why I'd love to see him. And I don't know if you're gonna hit him lead off against left-handers, even though he has proven, that hitting against lefties is not a big deal for him. I don't know if you'd hit him there against lefties, but I'd love to see him lead off. And just, you do like that leadoff guy. We talk about it a lot, that he's only truly the leadoff hitter once, right, in the first inning. That said, he can be a table setter, right? He can kind of set a tone. And it'd be nice to have someone with his confidence, his pedigree, his success, his history to be the tone setter for this group, many of whom, Corey Seager's not doubting himself, but maybe just about everybody else in the batting order is. And
Yeah.
they'll get over that. But until they're productive, they're like, dang, I wasn't productive.
Yeah. Yeah, and interesting what you say about flipping the lineup. If he's batting third in an inning and the 8 and 9 guys get on base, you're in business. You have your maybe your 2 best hitters coming up next. So there are a lot of ways the leadoff guy can impact a game. I think the average is just over 1 time a game. So you might see him bat first twice, a couple times. But the fact of the matter is, and what everybody is saying and has said about him is it's just a different at bat. It's working the pitchers, dragging out at bats with foul balls and really battling, and that's something that the Rangers have missed. And again, don't be passive. Don't go up there looking to walk or looking to
Right.
have an
Yeah.
8 pitch at bat and
Yeah.
end up striking out or popping out. If you see your pitch, hit it, and Brandon Nimmo does that too. But he's a quality hitter, and the fact that he can do it against lefties and not be neutralized, maybe he doesn't have the same pop from against lefties, but that's fine. He's not an automatic out, and in your outfield, the biggest question in the outfield is, can Evan Carter play every day?
Right.
Can he hit lefties? And if he can't, well, that's okay, I guess. You have guys who can play in his stead against lefties, but Brandon Nimmo is going to be in the lineup. You don't have to worry about him.
Yeah, and it will literally, Evan Carter's ability, and some of it'll have to be shown at spring training. His ability to hit lefties will help decide probably that last guy on the roster, right?
Yeah.
If it's going to be somebody who is a platoon partner for him, think Haggerty or Hellman, right, or whoever it might be. There's more flexibility with that 26-man roster if, obviously, he sort of begins to prove I can hit lefties.
Yeah, and he did it in the minors. There's no question about that. He didn't do it even as good as he was that September and in the playoffs. He didn't hit lefties very well. Didn't get a lot of chances either.
Right.
But I think it's something that he has to grow into. It's something that the Rangers feel like he can grow into. And as we were talking about recently last week, it's kind of a catch-22. If you don't get the opportunities, how do you ever get better?
Yeah.
And Skip Schumacher's aware of that. He's planning on letting Evan Carter face some lefties, but how many really is kind of up to Evan. And like we've kind of intimated, maybe the self-taught Brandon Nimmo can give the same advice to Evan Carter that he used to become effective against left-handers. And if he does, then man, it's a pretty nice situation having your 3 outfielders locked in stone.
Boy.
and
Great.
Everyday players, and where they are, and they start to work together. They get better defensively because they understand each other, and no miscommunications and stuff like that. And if Evan Carter can hit the same against lefties that he does righty, that's your leadoff hitter.
Right.
And then
Yes,
you
that's
can
right.
drop Nimmo further
Yep.
in the lineup, and
Yep.
where he can drive in, potentially drive in more runs.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And again, I don't think it was a coincidence that Brandon Nimmo brought up in that first conference call or Zoom call or whatever it was, that story about him learning, basically teaching himself how to hit lefties, right? I think he brought that up because he had been speaking, obviously, with the Rangers in advance of this trade, and heard one of the problems is we got a couple of guys who don't hit lefties very well, and they're left-handed hitter. And he's like, oh, well, geez, we can do that. And then he brought it up to us. And again, we've said this on the show before, Jeff. If he brought it up to us, Brendan Nimmo has, if not yet, will bring that up to Evan Carter, let's say.
Yeah. And I think in the chat, a couple valid points were made. Andres Carter is only 23. He is still a young pup and still learning, and still gets a chance to develop. He was his own worst enemy, though, and being so good.
Sure.
Damn him helping them win that World Series, And then Leon brings up the back injury. Sure. You hope that he's has more of a handle on that. He didn't at this time last year. That's why he didn't make the opening day roster. Once he came up, he was fine, and other than the one incident where he got 10 days off because of the back, and then, his season ended with the broken wrist. But I think that, that's the thing that it's easy to lose track of. Evan Carter is younger than Wyatt Langford, and he needs to be given the chance to continue to develop. And I think the Rangers are aware of that, but he's also getting to the point now, though, where, he's going to start running into arbitration years, and he's going to start getting to the point where it's like, is this guy is it going to be worth it? So that's kind of tricky. It really is. You err on the side of hope, I guess.
Yes.
Because this is a guy who was a second round pick, 50th overall, and what he did do in 23 and what he showed at times last year, when healthy against right-handers, it's just completing the puzzle. And, hopefully he does. I mean, we root for these guys.
We do.
He's a good kid. Nothing. The back injury is not his fault. It's not like he's out riding a motorcycle and crashed or something, just one of those things that he says he's going to get over. So you hope that it all comes together before the Rangers have to make a decision on him.
Yep, you do. And you hope and pretty much count on the fact that his new teammate, Brandon Nimmo, will help him get over that other hurdle, which is the hitting of left-handed pitching. So lots more coming up on this DLLS podcast as we talk a little bit about, I'm going to throw some hypotheticals about this pitching depth over Jeff's way. We'll talk about that next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Nothing I like more than a hypothetical, John. But here's a sure thing: the Supporters Club. Join it. You go to our homepage, youtube.com @DLLS_sports. Voila, you're there. You hit the join button, and next thing you know, you're getting access to videos that not everybody gets access to. You're getting emojis and badges that not everybody gets access to. You have to be in the Supporters Club to do that. I liken it to, it's our YouTube version of being a diehard. It's videos, behind the scenes stuff from all of our beats, and it's really good. It's entertaining. A lot of times it's, reflections on our careers, what we know, how we go about our jobs. Sometimes it's, Kat showing you guys what it's like to get a show ready, or GM Ben showing you what it's like to orchestrate a day at the winter meetings. All kinds of stuff. All you have to do is join the Supporters Club today.
Yeah, hopefully the next one will have something to do with what happens at spring training. We'll be hopefully looking forward to that. In the meantime, we also want you to subscribe to the newsletter and get all the latest information that you can get from there, written by Ali, our Cowboys writer, who does such a good job, and who has all kinds of nuggets in addition to just the highlights from our four major teams in the DFW here. But he gives you fun little nuggets and little thoughtful things at the beginning, generally, and the end. And then the middle is chock full of news, like the Stars game last night. Good win for them. About the Mavs that they couldn't play yesterday, as we alluded to earlier in the program, because they got stranded here in Dallas. So their game with the Bucks got postponed. And how about, as a quick aside, our buddy Kevin Gray being a part of that Luka Sweet thing. Holy moly. I can't wait to talk to Kevin about that thing. But anyway, if you become a newsletter subscriber, you'll know about all these things, and it's easy and it's free. So become a subscriber to our newsletter today, if you would. Okay, so first hypothetical, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's say, I'm not even sure it's possible, but let's say Kumar Rocker has an unbelievable spring, lights out spring, the kind of spring that is reminiscent of what he was doing in Frisco, at the end of the season 2 years ago, right? He's looking like that against major league hitters. Can he be the fifth starter this year? Can he win that job as the fifth starter coming out of spring training?
I think he can. I do. I don't know. That doesn't mean I think he should. Um, you know, I guess if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're thinking, well, this is Chris Young's pick.
Yeah,
Chris Young needs this guy to be in the rotation and to be a star. You don't want to waste that pick, right? But also, if he does, that means he's had an off season that a major leaguer is supposed to have. Last year he came into camp, his mechanics were messed up. He was thought to be 3 weeks behind mechanically and where his stuff needed to be, and then he had to play catch up. And at times it looked like he was there, and he just had to show a pulse, I guess, there at the end of camp after the injuries,
sure.
and
Yeah,
he was in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
If he is in the right pitching shape, not nothing to do with his body or physically. If he's throwing strikes, wiping guys out with his slider, commanding the strike zone, things like that. Yeah, he could be in the rotation. I mean, I asked, I don't know, a couple of conference calls ago, has Kumar Rocker, did he get the game experience that he was lacking when you guys sent him down after the Tampa Bay thing? And they said yes. Chris Young and Ross
Okay.
Fenstermaker.
Okay.
It's like, okay, what are the chances of this? Because the mechanics that he worked on at the end of last year, he only made one start. So it's like he barely. It's like a test drive where you just go around the block. You're
Right.
not you're
Yeah.
not you're not getting it on the highway to see how it drives and things like that. So um, I have questions. I have my doubts, but I do think Kumar Rocker in the rotation puts Jake Latz in the bullpen and makes the bullpen stronger.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
and I think Jake's gonna have a great spring. So if if Kumar has the kind of spring where he beats out Jacob Latz, then I think the Rangers are in a decent spot.
Yeah, they'd be in a great one, and then they'd, presumably get even stronger in May sometime, or even let's say the 1st of June, if they were to give Cody Bradford a long, rehab and a long ramp up, almost the full spring training. And so let's say Cody comes back. Is there room in that bullpen for Cody and Jacob Latz?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Um,
because they do the same thing, right?
yeah, and I don't know that there is. But if they're two of your 13 best pitchers, then maybe you find the room for them. Maybe you look back at how last year, how or if there's a spots in the schedule where pitchers just need a blow. They've been going at it pretty hard. Maybe a long road trip. Maybe give each of them a start. Latz and Bradford. Give the rotation some extra days to get caught up. I still think, and I haven't really spoken to anybody about this, but I don't think that they're just going to let Jacob DeGrom go out there and throw 280 innings next year. I think they still want to watch that and
Sure.
manage that, not quite as severely as they did last season, but I think they saw the benefits of Jacob DeGrom making 30 starts. And then can you keep Evaldi upright for let's say
Yes.
28 starts?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you, instead of sending him out, you would be able to say, all right, Cody, you're not in the bullpen today. You're going to go out and give us a start, and Jake, you're going to piggyback off of him. Something like that.
Sure.
You can still find a way, I think. So I've gone from I don't know to yes, you
Okay.
can have
Good.
them, the
Both.
both of them in
Yeah,
your
I
bullpen.
agree, and that's the thing. If they're two of your 13 best, then you need to figure out a way, right? And that'd be
Yeah,
the job of. I thought it was interesting. I heard CY on the MLB radio talking about the Gore trade, and he kept calling it our pitching department,
yeah,
which I think is where he's headed with how he wants it to be thought of relative to it's a group of pitching coaches, right? It's our pitching department. I think he's going to be referring to it as our hitting department too. But the pitching department will be thus in charge of figuring out how to, and the manager, but figuring out how to utilize those 13. Now let's put, which is what we'd prefer. I know you and I would both prefer for Kumar to have a nice spring, be good, show he's getting better, but go to the minor leagues and get more seasoning, right? And go spend some time at AAA. So let's say that happens. Any chance for our next hypothetical that Austin Gomber could be, let's put it this way, any chance he sort of becomes Patrick Corbin, right? Patrick Corbin came in with horrible numbers, some of the worst in baseball. So does Austin Gomber, right?
yeah,
He comes in
yeah.
with really bad numbers. Could that change of scenery happen, and all of a sudden Austin Gomber is your fifth starter?
Well, a lot of times these things have a way of working themselves out.
True.
You remember last year, uh, Jack Leiter, came out and pitched okay as in the second game of the season. Then he pitched the finale at Cincinnati, a day game, and was almost unhittable for
Yep.
5 innings. And then he comes out of the game. We're like, why is he coming out of the game? Well, he had a
Yeah.
blister. He had to go on the injured list.
Yep.
That's what allowed Patrick Corbin the opportunity to to stick around in the rotation, because we thought, oh yeah, they're just going to sign Corbin. He's going to make a couple starts and then that's it.
Yeah.
No, he became a fixture there, and kind of to the talk we were having about how many starters do you need last year, and a couple of guys in the chat went ahead and figured it out for me. They only used, I think, 8 or 9 non-opener starters.
Okay.
That's because of Patrick Corbin and because of
Right.
Jack Leiter.
Yeah.
And DeGrom.
And Jacob DeGrom. Yeah.
Those guys made like 90 starts between the three of them, or 89, right around there. So that's why you didn't need as many starters as feared. But again, these things have a way of working themselves out. So you may see a scenario where, oh boy, somebody pulls a oblique muscle in spring training and is going to be out for 2 months. Well, that opens the door for the next man up. And if it's Austin Gomber, it's Austin Gomber. And if he is anything like Patrick Corbin last year, okay, that's a
Yeah.
pretty good signing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me have a guy who just goes out, takes the ball, and makes every start, and really accounted really, really well for himself last year. So, and speaking of Jacob DeGrom, we know where he was. I think it was last night that the Magic played the Cleveland Cavaliers in Orlando, and there's Jacob with his buddy Donovan Mitchell. Now, Mitchell tweeted this out, and I saw it on several other accounts too. And Jacob got seats and everything from Donovan Mitchell, whose dad was in the Mets organization. And so, when he was a little kid, he was around Jacob DeGrom and stuff in the clubhouse. So, and now, basically, somebody put, now they're both the GOAT, I mean, so pretty amazing that a kid whose dad was in a baseball front office is that not only that talented to make it, Jeff, to a professional league, but to make it to the NBA.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And Mitchell can score, man.
Yeah, he can.
It's nuts how he just uh he can just pour the points
Yeah,
in. And
he can light it
Cleveland's
up.
not a bad team. And
Mm-mm.
that's pretty cool though. I didn't know that about their relationship, about Jacob. And Jacob lives probably a little more than an hour from Orlando, so it's not a it's not just like hopping over to the AAC. He's got to plan things out and all that stuff. And but cool, yeah, that's a neat story. And
I
Jacob looks good. He
He
looks good.
does,
Looks like
and
he's ready to.
we couldn't show you the video for various reasons, but there was video of the mascot asking Jacob to sign a baseball, which he did. And then the mascot pointed and showed him which fan wanted it. Jacob threw it directly to that guy, right to him, no problem. So I think the arm's okay too, Jeff.
98.
Yeah, guys like this. What are we doing? Yeah. So anyway, fun to see him out having fun last night. He's getting ready for spring training, just like the rest of them. More coming up, our cleanup segment, as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I tell you what, it's much different when there's the clock right in front of you, John. We've gone a little bit long on
I think
the
we
second
have.
segment. That was all my fault. I was just waxing poetically. But I do that sometimes when I write. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll just let it fly. And if you want to see what I've written, most of the time you got to be a diehard member to do it. So become a diehard member at our website. You can go to alldls.com/intro, see if they still have a couple offers to get you going. If they don't, it's $79.99 a year, $6.50 a month. It's so worth it to be able to access all the stuff that we write, not just about the Rangers, but about the Cowboys, the Stars, and the Mavs. And you don't want to miss it. We have talented guys, talented writers, and plus you get like a free shirt. You get 20% off of our merch, 20% off of our events, and I know it's in the works. We want to have a night at the ballpark, so
Yep.
keep your eyes out for that. But man, become a diehard.
Yeah. And if you do, Jeff mentions that shirt, it's free. And you'll go to store.allcitynetwork.com to find a variety of different shirts. I already kind of telegraphed which one I was wearing when I leaned back earlier, but I've got the DLLS sort of collegiate hoodie on, which is very warm. It's perfect for a day like today. And I think Jeff's got a couple of these hoodies. I've got just this one, but
Yeah, I have 3 hoodies.
not a big hoodie guy, but it's okay. I like this one and I need it today. And there's lots of shirts, hats. The hats are fantastic. That hat that Jeff's wearing might be my favorite. Hats don't fit my big melon, but that's a good one. And anyway, so store.allcitynetwork.com. That's the place to go to get all the merchandise that is available here. The San Francisco Giants, Jeff, as we get to our cleanup segment, have signed Harrison Bader to a 2-year contract. And they said from the beginning of spring or of off season that securing and improving their center field position was a big one. And Bader to me was another one of the free agents. I was a little surprised it took as long as it has for him to find a place. We're going to talk about a bunch more of those in a moment, but I think that's probably a pretty good fit and a nice place. And Bader's a guy that it appears is a little bit of the Brandon Nimmo of his office, where he's a fiery guy who gets everybody fired up.
Well, and Nimmo, or not Nimmo, but Bader was the hitter in Miami for the Phillies when that Karen, right, took the ball, the home run ball away.
Yeah.
I think it was him, and he was he met with the kid afterward, and
That's right. That's
did
right.
gave him the bat and ball and all of his stuff.
Good
He
dude.
seems like
Yeah.
a good dude, but
Yeah.
yeah, his calling card is defense. He will hit some home runs for you, and so he's a winning player. He's had some playoff experience, and certainly that ballpark there where the Giants play, that crazy right field, you need
Yeah.
somebody who can go get it. And they wanted to upgrade center field, and so this is a big part of their offseason plan. So uh, good for them.
Yeah, real good for them. We'll see how they do. They hadn't been remarkably active free agent wise, so that one's good. 2 weeks to go for pitchers and catchers, Jeff. And right now, among the pitchers who are free agents who have not signed are Framber Valdez, Zach Gallen, Chris Bassett, Nicholas Giolito, Nick Martinez, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. I mean, and there's a bunch more. I mean, what is going on with this pitching, I don't know, class or whatever you'd call this group of pitchers who are free agents?
Well, I think we know what Framber's problem is.
We do.
And it's his first time as a free agent, so he's probably holding out for a bigger deal. Gallen's a first-time free agent, so that makes some
Maybe.
sense.
Yeah.
But they're gonna help somebody win a lot of games. And now the Verlander and the Scherzer stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Giolito, Bassett does kind of strike me as a surprise, but they'll get deals. It may
Yeah,
not be
they'll
what they're
all get
looking for, but that's it. I think it is a little surprising. Joe is asking, when is truck day? It's this Thursday. No media availability. Rangers will be sending out clips of it, but Thursday is when the equipment truck heads to Surprise, Arizona.
I almost put it in the chat the other day. And it might not even have been last week. I think it might have been the week before that the Blue Jays had truck day. And it struck me just how damn far they got to go, right? I mean, like, it's 2 weeks ahead of the Rangers truck day. Because they got to get through customs with all that stuff.
Right.
And then they've got to get all the way down the eastern seaboard. So it was pretty funny to me thinking, man, the Blue Jays are already sending the trucks out and the Rangers haven't even thought about it yet. So it's always it's a fun day. And I'm sad that they, not that I've gone in years, but I probably wouldn't have gone if it was open to the media. But I always liked that. I always liked going out there and, getting shots. They usually had a player out there and you'd get shots and you'd get excited about spring training that way. So yeah, too bad. But too bad there's no media availability. But anyway, it is, as Jeff said, it is Thursday. So we'll probably, at least show you a little video to make you feel warm. Fernando Tatis Jr., Jeff, has decided to be a part of that Dominican team for the World Baseball Classic. So I'll tell you what, between the Dominican team, the U.S. team, and the Japanese team, this is going to be I think it's going to be a heck of a classic. Now, the one thing is that I think a good number of the Japanese players are already training together, right? And it's the whole business of a team, right? I mean, putting a team together. Can this group of wonderfully talented Dominican guys or American guys become a team in that short of a time period?
Well, and that's kind of like the theory in men's Olympic basketball, that
Right.
these teams have played together for a long time. Although I would wonder if that's not being dispelled a little bit more because of all the influx of Europeans. But
Sure.
I get your point, and these guys probably all live in the same areas, and I don't know how many baseball training places there are in Japan, but I bet that they, most of the teams are within an easy, I don't know if it's easy, but a short distance of Tokyo.
Sure.
So
yeah,
but yeah, it seems like that does play a role. And I don't know. Are there any? I'm sure there probably are, but like any teammates on the U.S. team, like MLB, or teammates on their MLB teams?
Yeah, it's a good.
I don't know. I'd have to
Yeah.
examine that. Maybe the Phillies, Schwarber and Harper, but
maybe.
I just hope that for a few weeks it all works out.
It'd be so much fun. Yeah. If talent, like it did with the dream team, right? If talent will prevail, and I don't know that we necessarily have a dream team. I mean, the equivalent to that dream team plays for Japan, I suppose. The best player for the dream team, best player in the world, played here.
Yeah.
The best player in the world plays for that team. So anyway, Jose Altuve, Jeff, has been asked by the Astros not to compete for Team Venezuela. And of course, we remember I think it was the last one, that he busted his thumb, didn't he?
Yeah, he got hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
And was out for a few weeks to start the year, maybe more than that. So I understand he's not getting any younger.
Nope.
I don't know that. I don't know if they ask what do they do if he says no?
Right. I know. That's
Do
a
they make
tough
him
one.
pay? I don't know. That is a tough one, but
Yeah.
I'm sure
But he
Venezuela's
agreed.
counting on
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. And he agreed not to.
Okay.
Yeah, he's agreed not to. So, yeah, he must have. And he's been true to his country, right, in years past and all that,
Yeah.
and given back. So, but it's never an easy decision. These guys always want to play for their country. Dirk used to talk about that all the time. He was going back, no matter how long the season was. He was going back to help out, Team Germany. So, that's just that loyalty, that patriotism for your country, and none of us obviously can blame a guy for having that feeling. So the Texas Gala, Jeff, is now the what used to be the triple play. Is now
right?
that they call it the Texas Gala. It's probably been 3 or 4 years in a row now where they get a big country music star to come in, and they set up a stage in Globe Life Field down there, and they have a big concert and a big fundraiser. This year it's going to be on May the 7th, and it's Zac Brown Band, 3-time Grammy Award winning Zac Brown Band.
Awesome.
It's a big one. Yeah. It's a big one, Jeff. I will say
those guys don't come cheap.
No, not at all. And I will say that because I think there's a fundraising component to the event that they typically do in conjunction with the Fan Fest, which got canceled last Friday night. It's a foundation event, and I think there's a fundraising component to that. So they're climbing uphill now on the fundraising for the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation. So that'll I'm sure they'll be happy to get as much interest in generated in that concert as they can to try and raise some more funds, Jeff.
Yeah, and the foundation does good work, and I used to go to the triple play, and I went maybe a year or two, and I was like, this isn't really worth my time as much as a day off is, or a night off. Because a lot of times, if they don't do it on an off day, they do it the night after a
day game.
Day game. Yeah. And but you're right. And the banquet. I don't know. If they'd had the normal banquet this year, which is by the foundation, would that have been canceled? I'm assuming it would have been.
Right. They weren't even planning to have it this year. Yeah.
Right. But I think that they have benefactors who work behind the scenes and help them out. And I know that a lot of the players, their contracts have a certain amount that they agree to have go to the foundation. So there's the foundation gets a lot of help. But this is a soiree too. I think you got to dress nice and all that stuff. Yeah,
boot kicking and all that stuff. So if you're a Zac Brown fan, keep that in mind. It's the Texas Gala, and we'll leave you on this chilly day with the shot from Fenway Park, where they are also experiencing chilly weather. But I love it. They've got that fire. You know how you can put a fire on your TV, Jeff? Way out there in center field, they got a fire burning up on the Jumbotron. And that's bound to warm everybody up. It's pretty interesting because they're getting blasted up there too. They got like feet of snow in Buffalo yesterday, And
Well, I mean, if the AFC Championship game, if the Patriot had been the 1 seed, it would have been a stinking blizzard that those
yeah,
teams were playing in. I
yeah,
mean, like
both.
with real heavy snowfall. Yeah. So
Yeah, on all games. So anyway,
yeah.
yeah. So that's going to do it. We appreciate you keeping warm and hanging out with us and talking a little baseball. We think we're going to do it from home again tomorrow, hoping that the roads will de-ice through the natural resource of the sun here pretty soon. But in the meantime, wherever we are, we will be with you tomorrow at 1:00 on the DLLS Rangers podcast.